Hello everyone, welcome to the Guthix Rest podcast. I am a guy named Sparry, joined as always by my co-host,
Birdfacts. That's me.
and we're joined by a special guest today. Hello, Asterix.
Hello, it's me, Asterix, video editor and, in general, personality.
Let's go. We love personalities.
We do. Personalities are good. They make everything... Oh, hold on. Let me close my door. All right, it's closed. My roommate just got home right as soon as we started recording this podcast. Look at the time. Oh, my God.
Perfect intro. Leave that in,
Perfect
editor.
intro. Oh, God. I've already ruined everything. Oh, God.
That's what we do. That's what we do around here. We ruin everything.
A nice warm welcome. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome on. In the pre-talk, I mentioned I was doing Trouble Brewing because of the changes, and tweet notification just came out. Trouble Brewing has been reverted back to 2 pieces of 8. So
these cowards.
I'm gonna just click on this portal real quick and leave.
That's the average abuse early and often.
Yeah, apparently. You know, I was
Unlucky.
I was laying in bed this morning. I was like, maybe I should do this Trouble Brewing thing. I keep seeing people talking about it. I was like, I have other stuff I want to do in the morning. And finally get on half an hour before we start recording. And I'm like, all right, how do I do this mini game? And I guess there's no reason for me to learn this.
Yeah, unfortunate. I mean, they've been pretty quick with the hot fixes recently. Like, I remember I was editing a Behemeth episode earlier, and it was covering, like, the TOA splashing thing on the pillars.
Yeah.
And I told my roommate, I was just like, hey, man, like, listen, like, they're definitely going to take notice of this after, like, I don't know, 60,000 people watch it on Behemeth. But maybe you should get on this quick. And, you know, sure enough, he did. Not going to say his name or his RSN, but, you know, like, hey, abuse early and abuse often.
Yeah, we're in a Discord with some people that play a lot of Snowflakes. So a lot of their methods end up being abuse early, abuse often, because... You know, who knows when the next time they'll be able to do whatever obscure thing their Snowflake account's trying to do.
Exactly. It's like that or, you know, smashing a chisel against their head for 10 hours or whatever these Snowflake accounts are doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I suppose I should introduce who I am formally for those who don't know me. So, my name's Asterix. Hello. Nice to meet you, viewer, wherever you are. I'm imagining, like, some blue-collar, handsome worker driving his forklift with his headphones in, listening to this podcast. I'm talking to you, directly to you.
We're the People's Podcast.
Yes, exactly. We're the People's Podcast. I am a RS video editor. It's my full-time job. I edit daily videos for the Behemeth Highlights RuneScape channel, and I've been doing so for about a year and a half now. I also edit for a few other YouTubers, namely some of the guys in the Based group, such as Tasty Life, and a few other YouTubers on the side. And yeah, I don't know. I just reached out to these folk after hearing about them from Sebe. And I was chatting with him, and he told me that if I reached out, there's actually a decent chance that you guys would want to have me on for a discussion. And, you know, luckily enough, they're kind enough to have me on. So I'm here to expose what it's like editing full-time for RuneScape YouTubers and offer advice to anyone who's looking to do it. But yeah, I'd say that's my intro.
That was a pretty... It sounded well rehearsed. I don't know if that was off the dome.
Very comprehensive.
Yeah.
No, that was just off the dome ski. I flow best when I'm scared.
Yeah.
I feel that, honestly.
You know, I listened to your appearance on the Based After Dark. I don't know if there's more than just the one, but there's one that Sebe had mentioned, and then the Sebe cast, of course. I listened to your appearance on that. And I recall you had said you were scared going onto the Sebe cast.
Oh, yeah.
You had the same kind of jitters coming onto ours, you know, being much smaller.
The stakes were a little bit less so for the Guthix Rest podcast, not actually due to size. It had nothing to do with size, but just because I had known that I was likely going to be meeting Sater in person after we filmed the podcast. So I was really sure I wanted to make a good impression with him because I might be stuck, you know, bunking with him overnight at an Airbnb or so.
Yeah.
And if he didn't like me, that'd be real awkward, where at least if you guys decide, oh man, screw that Asterix guy, I hate his guts, you know, it is what it is, right? We can leave it there. But yeah, no, I was definitely a little bit nervous to come on here today. I remember I was telling my girlfriend, I'm like, oh, you know, going on a podcast today. She's like, oh, really? Are you nervous? I'm like, no. You know,
Never.
5 minutes before I come on, I'm shaking. I'm sweating. I have two zins in my upper lip, absolutely locked in, ready to go, you know? But yeah, no, definitely a little bit nervous. It can't be helped, but I think it gives me, a fighting edge almost, because whenever I get nervous about anything, I always feel, pushed to do something that I'm uncomfortable with. And then I'm glad I did it after, so.
Yeah, it's the same kind of vibes I get when I had to do like public speaking for school. It's just like, oh God, I'd get so nervous, but then you enter like a flow state where it's just like, nah, this is,
Yeah.
It just works out in the end.
That is exactly how I would describe it. You just freak out, go into a flow state, and, do your best.
Yeah.
Not too bad. But yeah, no, I was doing, some research, getting caught up on the lore of the Guthix Rest podcast in preparation for coming on. Now, I didn't listen to any episodes from start to finish. I will not lie, but I skimmed through a few.
Fair.
And yeah, well, I've just been so busy, like to preface why I'm so busy, I actually edit every single day for the Behemeth channel. I don't have days off or weekends or anything, because I'm the sole editor for a channel that does daily uploads.
Which is insane to me that you no days off, editing every day for how many episodes in a row do you think you've done?
So I was editing today's before I came into the call, and the project file is Behemeth_618.
Jeez.
So the 618th video. I think I've taken 2 days off. One was when I had a family emergency and I needed someone else to sub in, and I had one of my other buddies edit the video. And another one was for, I think it was a family member's birthday. I actually don't take days off for Christmas or my birthday because, the grind can't stop, right?
Of course, of course.
So many people are home on the holidays, especially, and they have a lot of time to hang out when they're done opening their gifts, hanging out with family, if they celebrate and such. And so some people have more disposable time, specifically on holidays, so it's actually good to capitalize on that, I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
So the videos must keep rolling. But anyways, like I was saying, being busy all the time, I couldn't really listen to all of them, but something did catch my ear, I should say. I believe, Sparre, you said I think it was you mentioned hiring an editor to save you time.
Yeah, we just hired an editor. They've done the last 2 episodes, and they'll be doing this one as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, it was I think it was the titular season 2 comeback episode.
Yeah.
Cinematic and all.
Yeah, we took quite a bit of a break, just gone through a very obnoxious move, and work had picked up a ton. So,
yeah.
Just various reasons I hadn't edited for a while, and I had felt burnt out from it as well. So.
Oh, yeah, no, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I think it was a good move, hiring an editor. Hiring an editor. Leave that in editor.
Hello, editor.
Hello. Michael from the XP Waste podcast is actually a friend of the show, and I reached out to him and was like, hey, you just recently left your job and have some more free time. Would you be interested in editing, an episode every week or 2? And he's like, yeah, for some money. I was like, hell yeah. So we came to an agreement, and great decision, honestly.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's generally, the generic response that I hear from most content creators who I hear hire an editor for the first time.
Yeah.
And whenever I ask them, was it worth it, this or that, 9 times out of 10, unless they are either extremely unlucky or they have some external circumstance rise where they can't afford an editor anymore or anything like that, or maybe they have a very rude or impolite editor or whatever it is, they're almost always happy with it because you can just create so much more content if you don't have to worry about taking the time out of your day to, sit down and put it together and upload it, right?
Yeah, and I know, some people do enjoy the editing process. If you're creating, sick COD montages, I'm sure...
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that's much more enjoyable than, sitting down and listening to yourself ramble for 2 to 4 hours.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's a difference between editing for fun, I've learned, and editing for a client or editing for work. Where you have to, kind of separate yourself from what you are creating and view it as, this is someone's baby, they clearly care enough about what's being made to, pay me money, from the editor's point of view. So I'll do my very best to try to achieve, I kind of talk to them, figure out their vision for what they want. How would you like it edited? Maybe have a reference, another podcast or another YouTuber, just generically speaking, right? And say, how would you like this to look? And then you kind of have to pull yourself out of it a bit. And for me as an editor, I think a lot of the joy that I have in editing personally for myself or for my own projects or anything like that a lot of that joy kind of gets sapped out and removed, and it becomes just kind of like a 9 to 5, like it's just work, because it's not your vision anymore, right? You know, it's the client's, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think a good editor would collaborate with their client and talk back and forth and try to realize what they want while remaining in a budget as best as possible. And I think that would make, you know, usually successful business collaborations. But generally speaking, you're right. Like, it's like what you said with the COD montages. Like, if you're doing that, it's clearly just for you, right? And just for fun, making something that you imagined and dreamed up. And I think there's a lot of joy in thinking of something, working on it, looking at it, and then getting it closer and closer to what you imagined. And when it's at that point where you don't think you can get it any closer to your original idea, at least with whatever means you have or skills you have in editing, you know, it's something to be proud of, because editing does take a lot of work.
Yeah, and like it kind of also, I think, depends on what you're editing. I think for something like a podcast, especially one with zero, well, okay, I wouldn't say zero video component now. We do have a little bit of video stuff just so it can go on YouTube. But there's a lot less creativity, I think, that you can put into an audio podcast. Of course, there's like, you know, you can put music in and stuff, but like for this style, I think there's not a ton you can do in terms of that.
It's definitely a lot more just using an editor strictly as utility. Just basically like, all right, just perform the actions that I was going to perform, basically almost identically to what I was going to do, for example, just to save me time. You'd be paying for convenience by that point rather than technical skill. Not to, you know, diminish the accomplishments of any like high ranking or high profiling podcast editors, because there are quite a few who like they cook hard. Like there's for example, a Dungeons and Dragons podcast I'd listened to before where the editor was going ham with the sound effects. Whenever like a battle would happen or anything, they were putting in like background ambience and, you know, like the sound of you know, branches cracking in forest. Like they were cooking hard, and so I really respect them.
You remember the name of the podcast?
I think there was a few. One of them was Die of Laughter, and then there was a super popular one called, I think, Dungeons and Daddies.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that one.
I haven't listened to it in a long time, but it had a, you know, a lasting impression on me. It was very well produced. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'm just interested. I was interested to hear, you know, how hiring an editor worked.
Yeah,
specifically for you.
There was like some people that I was thinking of reaching out to. They're, you know, I think Saint Tits is the editor for the Base podcast, and I was like, maybe him. Your name popped up. I was like, no, he does visual stuff for YouTubers. It's like videos. I was just kind of like looking into like people that do editing for like RuneScape content creators, and it was mostly just like video stuff, which kind of makes sense. The podcasting scene is not the biggest. Although there's plenty of podcasts, but they mostly are all self-edited. And I was like, well, Michael from XP Waste, you know, he had reached out during our long hiatus and offered to edit one for free. And I was like, I turned him down at the time because that wouldn't really solve the issue of why we were on hiatus. Sure, we'd get an episode out, but then it would just go back to, you know, sitting in its grave, unfortunately. But I was like, you know, maybe, you know, now that the circumstances are a bit different, he'd be interested in editing all of them. And so far, it's been great.
Exactly. I suppose you needed like a long-term fix, you know, rather than like, it doesn't matter that one's free. Like we just need the time that, you know, we need time saved.
Yeah.
Which I completely get. And speaking of those editors you mentioned, Saint Tits, super cool guy. I met him when I went to the Based meetup in Orlando. I flew down. I live in Canada, so it was quite the trek. I'd never been to Florida before.
West Coast or East
My
Coast?
God. I'm East Coast.
Okay.
I'm in Ontario.
Gotcha.
And so it was a pretty, you know, straight shot south, you know, relatively in terms of my flight. But wow, my oh my, I felt like I had crossed when I stepped out of the plane and I saw like a little marsh on the highway on the side. I was like, I feel like I'm in Mauritania, but with the humidity of the rainforest mixed with Africa. It was horrifying.
That sounds awful.
My Canadian ass could not take it. Yeah. But meeting Saint Tits, he's a super cool guy. For those who don't know, he's the editor for the Base After Dark pod, and he's a swell guy. I've actually been hiring him on and off on occasion whenever I'm swamped with client work, a bunch of like more high-paying projects. I'll have him do rough cuts for Behemeth for me, and then I'll have him send over the project file with all the attached media in the afternoon.
Oh, interesting.
I'll give him a cut of the pay, and I've been kind of like optimizing my workflow that way so I can get more projects done per week. by kind of almost like subletting my editing job to him.
Yeah, I was going to say,
rough cuts.
Freelancing part of your freelance work. That's interesting.
Yeah. We're going down the rabbit hole. I'm freelancing my freelance work, but it's all good with everyone I work with. I never do that for anything where someone for their YouTube channel, like if it's a big video, not like a daily generic upload, right?
Yeah.
If it's something that they hired me for specifically, like no, that'll never happen because I only trust myself to deliver what they want, basically. But it's something that I've just been doing recently to save some time, while I kind of expand what my freelance business kind of entails. Which it's been a trip, man, for real. I used to work overnight in a warehouse moving boxes, playing RuneScape when I got home at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And now I'm full-time editing RuneScape. So you could say not much change because I'm still editing RuneScape at 6 or 7 a.m. But but hey, at least it's my job.
That's probably way more enjoyable than the warehouse work. I did that for a little bit, and it was soul crushing. Honestly,
yeah, this is the best job I've ever had. And it's weird because I had to explain to like my family and my friends, like I'm able to make this money, I can pay my rent and stuff. I'm moving into a nice house with my girlfriend and my roommate pretty soon, so I'm moving out of here. But I'm only able to do so because the career's been booming, and it's been great. I work every day, but I've been having a blast, and it's RuneScape's basically, in my opinion, the golden standard for an MMO, or at least it's up there in like the S tier, the upper echelon, in my opinion. And being able to work on a game like this and also be able, like immersed in the community and always tapped into what's happening while also getting reimbursed for my time is just it's a dream, man. Like I couldn't make it any better than this.
Yeah, RuneScape is one of those MMOs where it's just made so many choices that are different from like a World of Warcraft or a Final Fantasy. Like,
yeah.
It is just such a unique game in so many ways that like I don't think it has widespread MMO appeal. If you're like an MMO fan, you might not necessarily like RuneScape, but RuneScape I think is just one of the best MMOs, like you said.
Yeah, and I think it's part of it. Jagex gets a lot of flack, like a lot, but I really do have to give them credit because things just like, asking the player base and running a poll for a game change. Like, you don't see that happening in World of Warcraft, that's not going to happen. Like, they'll just do something. And it makes me really appreciate Jagex. I actually had, an awesome opportunity to edit a video on the RuneScape channel, actually, where I worked closely with Jagex via Tasty as a proxy. And he kind of got me in when they made the, I think it was maybe last year, they did the Cox change, like the Cox overhaul update. I just basically compiled a video for them and edited a breakdown of basically what the patch would entail for their channel. And they were super cool. So even it's cool seeing how they involve content creators and stuff. Like even recently with the Raxor, I believe it was Makeroo, who, basically broke down the patches. I think it's so cool that they're reaching out to content creators and having them present the changes to the audience in like a creative and informative way, rather than just leaving it. Here's the patch notes, right? Like here's the blog, and then just that's it, lights off. So I got to commend Jagex. There's a reason why we just passed 160,000 concurrent players a few days ago
on just a random day of the week. Just
a random day of the week. We didn't even have like raids 4, right? Like, the game's just cooking. And for a game this old, and some people say this dated of a art style to be this successful,
I think it's so
really
charming,
speaks
though.
Volumes. Oh, absolutely. Like I actually wouldn't have it any other way. I don't play with HD plugins. I use the GPU plugin in RuneLite, mainly just for frame rate and stuff. But man, this game rocks.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say it.
When the HD plugin came out, we were recording then, and I talked about like, oh man, the HD plugin, it looks so good. I'm gonna be honest, I turned it off after like maybe a month. It's like shaders in Minecraft. Like, sure, it makes the game look a little nice, but I think in the end it kind of diminishes from like the art style of the game.
Yeah, there's a kind of like a charm to the low poly kind of clumpy art style, and I think for many of us specifically, anyone in the age demographic of, I'd say maybe, I don't know, 20 to maybe 30, around there, and even maybe a little older, the nostalgia factor as well is huge in this game, and I think that's what pulled a lot of people back in, especially if they took a big break, because like what's the saying? You never quit RuneScape, you just take big breaks.
Yeah. for a long time, it was my yearly tradition. Near the end of the year, I'd burn out for like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And then I'd always come crawling back. The itch would come.
Yeah. The itch always comes. Yeah, no. But it's been great. You know, it's been fun editing for everyone. I got to meet a lot of cool people as well. Holy shit. I met people I never thought I would have the privilege to meet. Like, it was crazy. I got to hang out with Bodhi in Orlando. That was crazy. I'm like, what?
That is absolutely insane.
How did I make it there? You know? He's super sweet as well. Like, he's awesome. It'd be so funny, you know, I'd be drunk on a couch or something partying with like the guys from Based, and then I'd be like nodding off because I'm tired. It'd be like 3 a.m. or something, and all I hear is, "You doing all right, mate?" And I'm just like, I can hardly understand him. I look up, and it's just Bodhi looking down at me, and like I thought I was in a fever dream. I was like, "There's no fucking way!" like what? Like, what do you? When did he get here? I look around. Sure enough, party's still raging on. Bodhi's just checking how I'm doing. Actually, such a swell guy. I'm pretty sure he probably doesn't even remember me, but being able to meet him was sick as hell. And a lot of guys, like, I never thought I'd be able to meet anyone I worked with, for example. Like, I never thought I'd meet Tasty or any of the guys who run Behemeth and stuff. I had no idea, but being able to meet them really solidified that, you know, you can build a career in RuneScape. Like, actually, you can pay your rent from RuneScape. And if you have the drive and, you know, you can capture something that you think people would find, you know, like, interesting and monetize it, like for example a podcast or a YouTube series, like you can really make it work.
I'm really glad Jagex helps foster like the content creator side of the community so much.
Oh my god, they're some of the best to do it.
There's some companies that like DMCA strike their content creators. I'm just like
Nintendo.
Like Nintendo, and I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, like it's rough. Like they're really shooting themselves in the foot. Because I was talking to a few of the guys actually about this recently, and I was like, "Yo, you know, like Tasty, how do you get into RuneScape, man?" Because he played a bit as a kid. He was telling me, but he was like, "Oh, it was actually watching Framed and Torvesta doing PvP videos right when Old School came out, and that's what got him in." And like, it's crazy because I started asking my friends, like, you know, what made you want to start playing RuneScape again? Because a lot of them had played in like grade school, like elementary school,
and
they started playing up again. Yeah, exactly. Me as well. And they were just like, "Oh, you know, I just saw a YouTube video and I realized like, oh, wow, the game's like alive still and it's kicking." And it's almost always a YouTuber who got them in. So Jagex kind of realizing that and realizing the importance that content creation and online content, podcasts, episodic series can have on the populace is insane. Like, so many people I know got into this game again and are now dedicated and basically addicted to the game because of a YouTuber, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I know at least one person that's gotten into the game just because of like Swampletics. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's
100%.
I think it's very important for the health of the player base to have like content creators that can like get people into the game, and also like people just enjoy the game more when there's like cool content that they can share.
Yeah. And this game has, like, a whole world of content. Like, even my dad's been playing this game. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, my dad's, like, I think he's, like, 61 or something. And he doesn't raid or anything like that. But one day, I just came home and he said, you know, like, you told me you were editing for that Behemeth channel. So I looked it up. And every night after I get home from work, I've been watching those videos on my iPad. I'm like, oh, shit. my old man's watching the Behemeth highlights. Like, okay, dude. Like, that's sick.
He's a daily watcher.
Yeah, probably. You know, the next week I visit back home for a dinner. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" My dad has his iPad out, and I can just hear like tick, 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 and I'm like, "No fucking way!" I look over, he's mining shooting stars. Like, I'm losing my mind here. Like, what's going on? And like I said, it's the YouTube to RuneScape player pipeline, and I swear, when you're in, you're locked in.
He's a lifelong player. You know, soon he's going to be doing a Theater of Blood. And AGS specking people in the wilderness, calling them noobs.
Yeah. Soon, man. Soon. I wouldn't be surprised if I drove over to my parents' place right now and I was like, "Hey, Dad, you know, like, what's going on, man?" And I look over on his screen and he's just like doing a solo challenge mode Cox, fucking 4-to-1 melee hand, going crazy. Yeah. But it's beautiful. But anyways, do you guys have any questions for me? Because I've just been ranting about content creation for a good minute now.
Yeah, well, I mean, so, you know, we were talking earlier about editing, and I made a joke about Call of Duty edits, but, you know, I had heard that's how you got your start in editing, was doing Call of Duty edits.
Yeah. So there was this cringe trend, like this real, like, brain rot part of the part of, I think, 2012 to 2014 maybe, where there's these MLG montage parodies.
Yeah.
And that was like, Quick Scope Noob, Mountain Dew, Doritos, Call of Duty hit markers, fucking air horns.
Shrek with freaking sunglasses and a weed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smoke weed every day. That type of like, it was like a Gen Z brain rot before the whole skibbity toilet Rizzler era took over.
We were in high school, me and Bird, during that era, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. This shouldn't be that foreign. I shouldn't sound that schizophrenic describing this to you guys. I saw that, and I think I must have been maybe 13 or 14 around then.
Okay.
And I saw that, and I was like, that's the funniest thing I ever saw. And so I opened up Windows Movie Maker, and unassisted, I just started cooking. And when I say cooking, this is probably the culinary equivalent of like boiled chicken that's slimy, that's also expired. Like, I produced probably the worst ocular garbage you could ever see, but it kind of ignited the spark in me, and I was like, hold on, like, making things is kind of cool. Because I remember I sent like this horrible Bandicam watermarked garbage meme video to my friend, and he kind of like laughed at it and said, hey man, that's kind of funny, you should make more of those. And then like something changed inside of me, man. I was like, holy, this is kind of fun. So a few months later, I stopped doing these like little chitty meme edits, and then I was playing Call of Duty at the time, much like many a schoolboy in the early 2010s.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, these montages are kind of sick. Like, FaZe Clan looks cool. I want to be in FaZe Clan.
Everyone wanted to be in FaZe back then.
Exactly. And so I started editing Call of Duty montages, and eventually, over many years, that got me to where I am now, because I picked up a lot of technical and even slightly advanced video editing techniques and stuff, all self-taught, just from like YouTube. And I wasn't even on Reddit back then, just like random tutorials and cursed, Skype and TeamSpeak servers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going around, and eventually, when I was in, I think probably grade 10, grade 11, so I was probably like 16 or 17 or something, there was a few Twitch streamers, and they would host like 2 HCs or 3 HCs, which stood for like a 2-hour contest, for example. And what they would do is they would gatekeep pre-recorded Call of Duty montage footage and clips, and then they would release it to everyone live and start a timer. And everyone in the chat would go, and they'd rush, and they'd download the clips and start making a COD montage.
This is the wildest thing to me. I can't believe this existed.
Dude, it still happens. It's just
really?
way less popular, but it's still, there's still people in pockets of people on Twitch and stuff keeping it alive.
God,
but
the sub-communities are crazy.
Oh, for sure. And they would just kind of autistically edit these videos, going ham for a couple of hours, and then they'd send them in to like a Google form, and the mods and the streamer would organize it, and then the streamer would review them, like, and critique them in front of everyone, like almost similar to like some stuff I did in college for video production. You'd say, all right, that's good. Maybe the color grade was a little too heavy, like the colors were a bit crushed, or maybe your sound effects were too loud. Like, the gunshot sound effects does not need to be way louder than the music track or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it was literally staged competitive editing with prizes on the line for the top 3 edits during the 2-hour time span, be it paid out in PayPal or, whatever it is.
That sounds like a really good way to like learn really quickly.
Yeah, this sounds so crazy to people who weren't there, but I would practice competitive Call of Duty montage editing in my mom's basement for like 2 years. And then, what happens? I graduate, high school. I go to a college, and I'm studying video production.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm unmotivated. It's not very good. It's not what I like. And then all of a sudden, they're like, who here knows how to use Adobe After Effects? And like, man, I had like a Winter Soldier episode. I was like, I do, sir. All of a sudden, I'm graduating with honors. All because like I know all of this cursed information that comes later in the the structured education system for my college for video production.
Mm-hmm.
I had no technical skills with the camera, which I had to learn, or like recording audio, for example. I didn't know anything about that, but I'll be damned, I could edit pretty well. And so I ended up graduating with honors, and then I went to a second college for a postgraduate in visual effects and CGI. And lo and behold, I knew about half of that shit as well from editing Call of Duty. And like, holy shit, now I'm kind of cooking. And so I quit. The job market went insane, not very good. And then, global pandemic happened. A lot of the studios stopped hiring and then outsourced all of their in-house positions to remote work, especially in other countries. So I didn't really stand a chance as a junior trying to get an entry-level job. I looked on Indeed. They're like, you need 3 years of experience in CGI. And I'm like, oh, man, I really wish I had 3 years of experience for my entry position, man. So started working in the warehouse, and then I saw I made a shitty Blender render. It was me and my buddy. It's right when Group Iron Man came out, like a week after, and it was like a Blender 3D like still render of our Iron Man that I exported with some plugins that I found on GitHub. I got the models into Blender. I set up a little scene. It was just us like posed up killing what do you call it, like hill giants or some shit, doing a Slayer task together, just hanging out, the homies. It was just meant for my buddy as like a wallpaper for his computer, because we were just hanging out playing RuneScape. You know how it is. And I posted on Reddit, thinking, oh man, he's like, dude, like Asterix, that's kind of cool, man. You should share that. I posted it, and all of a sudden, I got a message from a Jagex moderator. And I was like,
huh? Oh, shit.
They're like, hey, we really like that render you made. Is it okay if we feature it in the August Gielinor Gazette? And I was like, oh, like at the very end of like the Gielinor Gazette, like the monthly news blog, they have like community art submissions and stuff from, like Reddit and Twitter. And they put mine in there. And I thought, like, oh, that's cool. And then they said, as compensation for us posting your thing there, what's your RSN? We'll get back to you and give you 6 months of game time. And I'm like, what?
Hell yeah.
You can, and this kind of put in my brain, like, you can get paid for producing RuneScape related content. And so I was like, holy. So from that, I got invited into a RuneScape content creator Discord. I think it's like an artist Discord led by KempQ. And so I got in there, and I noticed they had a commissions thread where YouTubers or content creators, they would post looking for, I'm looking for a graphic design artist. I'm looking for a video editor for this or that. And I saw this Behemeth guy who I had seen around, this Australian man, he was like, oi, bruv. I'm looking for an editor for my Twitch highlight channel. And I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm really intimidated. I wanted to start putting my editing skills to use for work, but I couldn't find any real life jobs. And I'm intimidated thinking like all of these other channels, like I'm looking at Solo Mission. I'm looking at like Swampletics. I'm looking at like these higher production series. I'm thinking, okay, for an amateur like me with no real editing work under his belt, like school, yeah, but not work, they might just not take me. How am I going to, get my name out there? And so I see Behemeth and I go, you know what? Flip compilation, I can definitely do. Like, it's not too technical. I don't have to be an editing, prodigy. And so I'm just literally just taking a dump on the toilet, about to go to my dreadful warehouse job. And I shoot this guy a message and I go, hey, man, like, I'd love to, I gave him the old drug dealer approach, I'll edit a video for free. But, after that, if you like it, you got to pay me. I feel like you might be familiar with that from the from your current editor. But I was like, yeah, man, like, I'd love to try it out. And he said, sure. And he liked it so much that he's like, you know what? Like, here's how much I can pay you right now. Would you like to do all the videos on the weekends? And so I started doing them on the weekends. And then he's like, oh, these are getting a lot better. Like, you're taking my criticism and, like, you really quickly fixed how the videos look. Like, they look already better than what I'm currently making. How would you like to do the Monday to Friday ones as well? And I was like, oh, damn. Like, at this point, I was editing in After Effects, which for anyone who edits videos knows, that is not what you do. That's like bringing a crane to move a stick. Like, you do not need that much heavy lifting just to do basic editing.
Yeah.
And so it was taking me 5 hours a day to make a Behemeth video, not counting the export and upload time. It was rough, but I was doing it anyway. And I started making more money from Behemeth than I did working overnight at the warehouse.
That's when you know you've made it.
Yeah, I went into my job and I was like, I'm making money on RuneScape YouTube now. I'm going to quit.
I didn't work here anymore.
Yeah, they looked at me like I was a monster and like they'd see me again begging, pleading, please give me a job. 1 month later, coming back to the warehouse. But no, they never saw me again. And, since then, I kind of used my role editing for Behemeth to kind of prove that, hey, like, I'm not going to ghost you. Like, I'm clearly around enough in the YouTube RuneScape sphere to edit daily. And, I just got better at editing from there and kind of branched out, my spreading tendrils of corruption and influence branched out from Behemeth, so to speak. And I just started working with other content creators until it became my full-time job. Like, I didn't need any part-time job or anything. It was just that. And so that is a long-winded recap of the Call of Duty montage to full-time RuneScape YouTuber pipeline.
Hell yeah.
Are you saying you are to video editing for YouTubers as the Skull is to, like, Blender thumbnails? Like, how the Skull does thumbnails for, like, everyone? Yeah. You're editing secretly behind the scenes for everyone?
It's a little different. Now I'm really good friends with the Skull. You know, like he does obviously the Blender thumbnails for Behemeth every day, and so I'm in a Discord with him. And we're always chatting, coming up with the thumbnail ideas. And a lot of that credit, I will not claim it. It's our executive producer T-Papa Slice from Based. He comes up with a lot of the scripting and the thumbnail like ideas for what the video is going to be. But I'm present, and you know, I have a little bit of input, and I get to see what the thumbnails are doing. You know, like this one's good, this one's not good. I would say that yes and no, because on one hand, the time that you have to put into a really nice thumbnail, well, extensive, is definitely not to the extent or duration of putting the time in for a full-fledged YouTube video, which can take upwards of, you know, like a week in some cases for a really big video to take. So I would say yes, I am working behind the scenes secretly for a lot of RuneScape YouTubers, but also no, not as many as him, because I just don't have the time.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. You know, at least for the podcast, editing it like takes a lot of time. Just like it's probably different for like the YouTube stuff. You're probably not like listening to everything in real time. I hope, at least for editing that. But
oh god, no. Yeah, I probably watch a lot of the clips back, god, maybe 3 or 4 times, sometimes for highlight style stuff, but for actual, like I call them like higher grade, and that's not to diminish any of the work I've done for Behemeth, but there's a certain level of complexity and higher technical skill that's involved in editing someone who's paying me, let's say 3 or 4 times the amount of money for, let's say, a 20-minute like tutorial or something that has a lot of motion graphics, a lot of transition work, a lot of compositing work. And so stuff like that, if it's long form like a podcast, I'll just run back on 2 times speed. Like I'm blazing through that in Premiere. But for higher quality work where I have to really like make sure all the cuts are like frame perfect and go ham, I'm playing back even short segments 5, 6, 7 times, you know, a piece. It's a miracle I haven't gone insane yet. Like the shadow curse on my brain, like I'm somehow keeping it at bay.
Man, I wish when I was doing the editing, I could like stand listening to it at like 2 times speed. The best I could like stomach is 1.5 times.
Yeah.
Just because I hate the chipmunk sound of our voices when it gets that fast.
The pitch going up is a little grating.
But also just like, I feel like I miss stuff if I'm listening to it too fast. Like I got very anal about editing out all of my ums and like any weird little pauses I'd edit out, which is probably why I started hating editing so much, just because of how much of a fine-tooth comb I was taking over it, which is probably not necessary.
No, I was exactly the same. I had realized though early on, or not actually early on, I'm embarrassed to say probably in the middle of my career up to this point on YouTube editing, I had realized, foolishly, I don't get paid, by the hour. The reason why is it's almost impossible to justify to someone on the internet, regardless of how cool you two might be, exactly how many hours you spent working on a video when, you don't punch in or punch out, right? So what I would do is, I'd charge per project. Like, here's just the total sum
that's
for the
pretty
video.
Standard, it seems, in the industry for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I picked that up quick, but, going off of that, I realized, since I'm not getting paid by the hour, I have the incentive to work as quick as possible without cutting corners. Like, I need to make the best quality video with the least amount of hours spent on my end, because it's better for me to make, pay my rent and stuff. If I can make them happy, give them what they want on time specifically, but also spend as little time on my computer as possible without making things tedious or anything. So I quickly began to, purchase third-party plugins, customize my workflow, set up macros on my mouse and keyboard to automate certain editing functions in software so that I worked smarter rather than harder in some senses. And it ended up saving me a lot of time. Like, way earlier in the pod, I think I mentioned when I first started editing Behemeth in After Effects, it took me 5 hours to edit a Behemeth video. I've gotten that down to an average of 2 now. So, like, a 3-hour time save is a really, really big deal if your pay is the same, for example. So, in regards to that, I think it's an interesting moment for a lot of people who are teaching themselves editing. It's one thing to say, hey, I taught myself how to edit videos from YouTube and Reddit and stuff. Like, this is sick. And everyone, they congratulate you because in some sense, the technical skill required for editing, it's not easy. Like, you can use templates and plugins to automate a lot of stuff, but editing, it's rough. You have to have an eye and an ear for it, and there's a lot of disaster that awaits you before you actually get decent with it. But if I had to give any advice out there for anyone who wants to get into this stuff long term, or maybe they have a good recipe now and they want to polish it, one of the first things I can think of is if you work smarter and save yourself a lot of hours and try to increase your quality of life in the production process, whether it's recording, whether it's how you get all the files together and share them, maybe you have an editor, how you send it over, finding ways to make things quicker and more streamlined is actually going to reflect better on the content. Even if you don't edit anything any different, by saving time, you're going to feel less burnt out. You're going to feel a lot more fresh going into the next video. And I found at one point before I got better with it, I was dreading editing the next video and I was really burning out. I didn't want to edit at all. I was too busy. I had other things going on in my life. It was a big commitment. And a lot of that weight kind of gets lifted off your shoulders if you can find any ways to kind of creatively, save yourself time in the production process.
There was definitely like a lot of time saves that I think helped me first started learning how to edit for the podcast. But I think I would have needed to make some changes to my editing style, some pretty drastic, like accepting that I should probably listen at 2 times or maybe even 3 times speed to get through that. Especially when it's like we had one episode with one of the admins over at the RuneScape wiki, and that is our longest episode by far. I think it's almost 5 hours long.
Oh my goodness.
It's also probably our best episode, in my opinion.
It's very good.
No, that's a prestigious person to have on.
Yeah.
No kidding,
Yeah, Cook Me Blocks from the wiki. It's 4 hours, 30 minutes after editing it down.
Holy moly. But, yeah, wow.
Yeah, and then afterwards, we ended up talking for another hour.
Okay.
Yeah, shout out to Cook. He's a fantastic guy.
Shout out.
Kept a good relationship after the recording with him, but yeah, editing that episode took a long time. I think I want to say it took me like 7 hours of editing to get that done.
Yeah, that's nightmarish, especially for like just an audio podcast as well. 7 hours is a Herculean task, to say the least.
Yeah,
I've had some projects, where I've spent upwards of 40 or 50 hours on them, but keep in mind this is like a 50-minute long, like massive video, right?
Wow. Are you editing for any of the YouTubers that have been doing like these like hour-long like snowflake videos or anything? Because I notice that's like a big trend lately.
Yeah. I edit for there's one. Then I haven't been doing snowflake stuff recently. I kind of I've been too busy. I've been approached by a number of YouTubers recently, but unfortunately I would have to deny them. I basically just been too busy. I have a lot of commitments to people who are very satisfied with what I do now, and usually every month I can expect 1 or 2 videos from each of these individuals, namely, like I had previously stated, Tasty Life, but I've been doing a lot of UIM work for Potato Heim.
Oh yeah, friend of the podcast.
Yep. I've been doing a lot of work for her for about a few months now, and it's been pretty recurring. There's just a lot of stuff that's been going on. Keep in mind, while I'm doing all this, I haven't mentioned it yet, but very out of left field. Sorry to bring this up now, completely unrelated to the podcast, but I've been getting into amateur bodybuilding in real life. So I'm in the gym every single day for like 1 or 2 hours, going kind of crazy. So, working out for 1 to 2 hours, trying to meal prep all my food, take care of my house, my cats, edit the Behemeth video, then in the nighttime editing for Potato Heim or Tasty or whoever it is that I'm editing for at the time. It's a lot. Like I'm quite packed, so I've had to say no to a few snowflake accounts. But I would like to work on some in the future, because a lot of the premises that people have been coming up with recently, like they kind of cook. Like some of the snowflake builds are kind of interesting, and I didn't feel that way.
Have you guys seen the new Goody video?
I think I saw it in my recommended.
Oh, I watched it yesterday. It's very good.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting.
Oh, yeah, no. And his stuff's very well produced as well.
Yeah, he's kind of notorious for spending 600 years not being around and then suddenly reappearing with like a banger video. So
I think that's the best way to do it. Because whenever a video drops, like people know, oh shit, like work's been put into this. Months have been put into this. Yeah, exactly.
That's real Jep Rate vibes.
True, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of content creators that I hold up to that standard. Like, for example, Goody, Solo Mission, stuff like that, where, like, I know when they post a video, like, I can expect a certain quality of both editing and footage. Like, they clearly spent a lot of time recording, a lot of trial and error for whatever it may be that they're presenting. But yeah, the Snowflake stuff's really cool. Like, even with, Potatoes doesn't have a Snowflake account, it's just a UIM, but she did something interesting. The last video I edited for, she gave me an 8-hour VOD. Just uncut. of her doing While Guthix Sleeps guideless and wikiless without reading chat. And like, holy, that was a rough one to edit. But I made it work. So like,
Is that what you were subtweeting about when you said
yeah. Some of you guys haven't edited an 8-hour VOD and it shows some shit like that. Yeah, man. Oh, dude, I went through the ringer. She was like, "Hey, like, is it done yet?" I'm like looking at the timeline. It'd probably have like 30 minutes out of an 8-hour video, like, you know, compressed down. I cut out 30 minutes, and she goes, "Oh yeah, you done yet?" I go, "Oh, soon.
We're getting there, you know."
I give her a side eye. I'm like, holy shit, I'm cooked, bro. Oh yeah.
So what's the process for doing something like that? Do you like skip around the video to get like a rough idea of what goes on, and then like you get a vision from there, or?
That, you know, that's a really good point. So that was a unique beast. I've never done VOD editing up to this point.
Okay.
Like I have in segments, but almost always I will not take VOD editing work. You have to pay me either a lot more money than you probably want to for me to go through an entire 8-hour VOD, and for me to trim the content and then make a video that's up to the standard of your YouTube channel, or even higher than that in that case. You have to either pay me more, or what I usually do is I have my normal rate, which, you know, much more affordable, but you clip everything for me, and then you give me for example, a script or a Word doc where you put the Twitch clips. Let's say you did something live, as opposed to just recording on OBS and sending me offline clips. If you have live content from a VOD, you clip it for me for cheaper, and then I'll download all of it and kind of categorize it and put everything in and sequence it. But for a VOD, you know, I hadn't done an 8-hour VOD before. Like that was a lot. I imported a 22.5 gigabyte file into Adobe Premiere, and my computer almost died. Like, it was horrifying.
Oh my God.
But when I went in, I was thinking, all right, you know, it's exactly like you said. How do I even approach this?
Yeah.
You know, because surely you don't just sit there and play it on one-time speed. I already knew that wasn't going to happen. And so I went into, she added me as a editor on her Twitch. So I could go into her past broadcasts, like her clips and stuff, and I could view and clip content on her channel herself, like on her Twitch account.
Yeah.
And I went in to the VOD, and I wasn't sure if I could do this before, but you can find highlights in a VOD, like where the most people clipped or where the chat activity had spiked. And so I started there as a reference point, finding the funniest moments or the most interesting moments where the viewer retention and the viewer interaction skyrocketed during her stream. And I would timestamp them in a notepad, and then I would skim through and bounce through, making sure, okay, at the very least, these are what the viewers deemed to be the most interesting points in the live stream. Now, there are a couple that were fake. Like, I see a huge spike in chat activity at, like, I don't know, 4 hours and 32 minutes. But turns out it's just because, like, someone raided or something. Like, it wasn't that interesting. So it was a lot of trial and error, but I first sculpted out the basic, what's the most important shit to keep. You know, the starting the quest, the fights in the quest, and then, like, the end of the quest. And then from there, I went on, like, 2 or 3 times speed. And it was literally just trial and error, like 3 times speed sitting through it, and then just going, like, okay, all of this dialogue isn't very interesting. Let's just cut to, like, the first line of dialogue, and then the streamer thinking, okay, they told me I need to go to Draenor Village, right? And I was cut everything in the middle out.
Yeah.
And then a combination of macros, automation, and trying my best, I eventually got it down. I think it took like 12 hours or something, 13 or hours, because I took maybe 5 hours to get the rough cut done, like all done and finished, because she said, hey, here's 8 hours. Could you get it to 30 minutes, please?
Cool.
Final video ended up being 38.
Yeah.
But it took me about 5 hours to get 8 hours of content into 38 minutes of condensed juice for the viewer. And then I spent probably about another 5 or 6 hours in that 38-minute, like, cut up segment, mixing background audio, mixing her vocals, adding in memes, adding in transitions, adding in, like, you know, what I call subliminal editing. So things that just draw the viewer's attention to anything noteworthy. Like, for example, there was a moment where, like, something glitched in the top right corner of her screen, but it wasn't very evident if you didn't have the chat overlay up with everyone saying top right, like, you know, look at that. So just, like, zooming in to notable things and adding sound effects and background music, that took a whole another, you know, 5 hours, like I said. So, you know, to recap, editing 8-hour stuff, probably not going to do it again. And I told her that. But I think I start by just identifying the key stuff and cutting around that. Right.
It seems like Twitch could do better to have like tools to make it so that you could, I mean, they have some stuff for like identifying key moments. Like you said, they have like the chat activity stuff.
Yeah.
And they also have like, I think it's Twitch that has this. You can like press something to like mark when a moment's like I think they use emojis or something for it.
Oh, yeah, they have ways. I remember looking. I didn't delve too deep into that part. Like I said, I was mainly looking at, viewer interaction as well as the most clipped moments.
Yeah.
But, like, there are ways to, like, timestamp, basically, in your VOD, which I think is useful for content creators, especially, like, I've been editing the Big Dogs Group Hardcore Iron Man series that, we got No Monkey, Tasty, them. I was editing their series, and, like, a lot of the stuff I'm noticing is just something would happen on one of their streams. They would just timestamp it, and they wouldn't even open it up or anything until they're, 1 or 2 days later. They find their VOD, and they go, okay, I remember I timestamped exactly here. I'm just going to clip this and send it to the editor. Like, here's where I got a Phoenix pet, for example, or something. Just, that's not a spoiler. They didn't get a Phoenix pet, but I'm just saying. That's generally how it would work. But, man, you're right. It would be nice for the editing side of things, considering how huge Twitch is.
Yeah.
If they stepped it up a bit. But really, my big gripe is with Kick. Clipping.
Kick seems terrible for that kind of stuff.
No. I have a bone to pick with whatever software or web dev engineer set up the clipping on Kick. It actually doesn't even work in Chrome for me. I have to literally go into Firefox just to be able to download clips from the website.
That's another Firefox dub right there.
Honestly, I agree. I absolutely agree. Firefox is becoming more and more tempting. If I wasn't set up into Google so much,
That's fair. I made the switch a number of years back just because I don't remember what it was. Something broke on Chrome, and I was just like, you know what, this is the final straw. I'm swapping to Firefox.
Typical, yeah. I mean, objectively speaking, if you're not using, here's my Google account with my Gmail, with my Google Sheets, like if everything's not linked in together, it objectively is one of the worst browsers. Like, it's such a resource hog on your computer.
Remember when it used to not be? When people used it because it was, like, lightweight? Those were the days.
Oh, man. Where's the time going? Good God.
Yeah. Kick, it confuses me, too, because Kick, on the back end, isn't it just using, like, Amazon Web Services for all their streaming stuff? So it's like, I don't understand.
Well, so I think it uses the same player, but I mean, I'm kind of talking on my ass here. I probably shouldn't say much because I don't know a ton. I know they use the same player, but that's really all I know about all that.
Oh, I don't know too much about the back end side of it. I know that I was talking. I don't know how much of this I can say actually, but I was chatting with Tasty when he was sending me some of his perspective for the group hardcore shit I was doing for him, and he was telling me that he's been working because he got signed to Kick for like their part of their streaming deal, along with a lot of the RuneScape section. I'm sure you guys heard the news where like they in air quotes bought out RS.
We had a guest episode that I think is probably just going to stay in our archives forever just because of some unfortunate things that have happened since that guest recording. Nothing bad, just like some topics were talked about that I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's like that great to talk about or to like release this now. But like we talked a lot about Kick in that episode, and a lot of it was pretty negative towards Kick, but we also talked about like how a lot of the RuneScape section got basically bought out and is on Kick now, which is I think probably worse for the viewers just because I don't think Kick's that great of a platform in terms of the viewing experience.
Yeah, no, that's something that I believe only benefits the streamers, short term, in my opinion, not long term, but short term, because the hourly rate that they're being compensated to go live and stream for X amount of hours.
I've heard it's very good.
Kick, it's very lucrative. I can't say exactly how much, but it's very lucrative for them to stream, even ignoring things like subscribers or TTS donations and stuff like that. It's very lucrative just to be live streaming the RuneScape category on Twitch. But I will say that, working with content creators and streamers who have been using the Kick platform, they've been communicating with the Kick developers in a Discord with just the people who are assigned and directly with Kick staff. And I can say this freely because, I haven't signed anything. I have no affiliation with Kick whatsoever, but just, coming down the grapevine from a few different content creators. Pretty slow changes. They've been kind of barking up the tree saying, hey, we need better clipping support. We need this or that. If we want to match Twitch, and like when I was streaming on Twitch, for example, I had X amount of features and they worked nicely and the viewer interaction was great. I'd like to replicate that on Kick, please. And complaints kind of been saying, oh, we're working on it for, I don't know, last 4 or 5 months now. And it's pretty frustrating as well, because when I'm compiling the Behemeth videos and getting all of the RuneScape streamer highlights for the daily content, I'll be editing it and I'll be downloading all the Twitch clips, easy as pie. Getting Twitch clips, I have a software I downloaded from GitHub. It's just like, I don't know, some generic Twitch downloader, but you can batch copy and paste a series of URLs. set a destination folder, and it'll automatically download and categorize all of the clips from that instead of going one by one. But with Kick clips, whenever those pop up in abundance, I know I'm going to spend an extra 15 minutes downloading them because it's just rough.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyways, enough ranting about Kick. This isn't an anti-Kick podcast by any means.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kick is doing some things good overall for, like, the fact that there should probably be a Twitch competitor that's not YouTube, because it seems like YouTube doesn't actually give a shit.
Well,
yeah.
Even if YouTube did give a shit, YouTube's already, like, kind of a mega corporation, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have some other competitors in the space.
Yeah, I think the competition's healthy. You know, if anything, it just, for any harm that might come to one of the big streaming services, I would honestly say it benefits the consumers and the viewers the most, because it, you know, puts a fire under everyone's ass to kind of make their platform better.
Yeah, for sure. And I really do hope Twitch kind of improves some of their stuff. It seems like they're coming out with a lot of features nobody actually, like, uses or cares about lately. Like, stories and I don't know what they call it, but you can, like, co-stream or something on a channel now.
Oh yeah, they've been doing all sorts of stuff that I don't really know too much about, but I've been seeing things like stories and stuff, and I'm going like, who is this for?
Yeah.
Who is this for? You know, I'm not a web dev guy or anything like that. Coding scares me. I like my pretty graphic user interface, and that's it. But I don't know. It's interesting seeing the rivalry. It's pretty interesting that I get to live in a point in time, you know. I wasn't born too early, you know, to see the ancient Rome. You know, I was born too late rather. Born too early to see what the future's like, but born just in time to watch two mega corporations fight to the death for who was watching a RuneScape stream. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, I think some of those contracts too are lapsing, and I'm interested to see who ends up re-signing and who moves back to Twitch, you know?
Yeah, like, I wonder what they're going to retain, you know what I mean? Like, who's really going to stick around and think it's actually a superior platform, or who was just in it for the money? Because I have a sneaking suspicion just about everyone's going to go back to Twitch full-time when the Kick deals are up, and it might be a bad look for Kick, but, you know, we will see.
I think Kick has to offer them, like, another contract that's the same money or pretty similar for them to stick around, just because I've seen, like, the viewership seems to not be as good.
Yeah, and I think they definitely at least have to get to the point where they have like feature parity with all the important things on Twitch to really encourage streamers to want to continue streaming on that platform. Because like you said, you know, all the kind of behind the scenes stuff, there's a lot of things that just aren't as good for editors or for the streamer themselves or what have you. So it's kind of important for content creators when they're not on the streaming side of things and are on the, you know, posting things to YouTube or putting out clips on various socials, what have you.
I mean, there's a really big sub-community of the streaming side of things where it's so weird. It's almost dystopian, but I've seen this entire blooming community of just strictly editors who don't make any content themselves. They don't appear in videos or anything like that. But there's like almost like a informal union of editors specifically for Twitch streamers and Kick streamers. And it's interesting seeing the rising demand for better back-end clipping support and updates and quality of life features that, you know, maybe a lot of the viewers, they don't care about it. Like, they don't download the clips, you know, unless it's some weird relationship with some e-girl streamer or something where they're categorizing them, you know. Exactly 6 seconds and 52 frames into the... I'm not going to get into it, but, you know.
Yeah, but it's never going to be, like, actually interesting content. It's gonna be like, you can see her toes as she walks away.
Like, you pause exactly here.
Dear God.
Well, but like the point that I'm trying to make is the average viewers don't give a shit, and they don't care if you want to update how the back end for the streamer to video editor file delivery works on a website. But like I said, there's a big community of editors who work for streamers, and they use this stuff daily, if not weekly. And it's going to be really big if the companies can kind of recognize this and put a lot more work into it. And I know that, like, on Twitter and stuff, I've been looking at Kick and Twitch, and they say that, oh, upgrades are coming soon to clipping, but, you know, I can only complain so much.
I feel like I've seen Twitch talk about that for years now without...
You literally.
These companies can say things all they want, but it's a I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But on another note, switching subjects here, small segue if you don't mind. I've been back into playing RuneScape again. I burnt out for about a year.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Been back.
You know, you talked about not really playing too much when you're on the Save cast and Based After Dark. That's cool that you're playing again. Is it just you got that itch again, or is it specific content even?
I've been last like 3 or 4 days on Behemeth. It's just been Araxor, eh? Like I've just been losing my damn mind. Yeah. But you know what? It looks kind of cozy. It looks kind of cool. And I was thinking,
it's pretty fun.
I have a main. I kind of want to get a few more Slayer levels, boost up with a pie, and try to hit it. Like that seems kind of fun to do. So I resubbed, got back into it, and I've been kind of, just chilling. I have a group iron that I play with some of my buddies. I got a main, and I do, mainly PvP stuff, but it's been fun getting back into it. It's really refreshing. What I had mentioned in the previous podcast, I burnt out so hard. There's something that taking a game you love and then being, I say forced. No one has a gun to my head except for the clients, but, no one really has a gun to my head except for the clients. But basically having to sit down and watch RuneScape clips, every single day for multiple hours, day in, day out, with no break whatsoever. Literally never. Even on vacation, I'd pull out a laptop and I'd still be editing remotely on vacation. Like, I'm always tapped into what's going on and watching streamers. And at a certain point, it's like too much of anything is just bad, Like, I stopped playing. I didn't want anything to do with the game. I unsubbed my accounts. I didn't want to open it. I would only want to see RuneScape for work, and that's it. And then I'd try to close it as quickly as possible. But I've noticed an interesting correlation. I got some raises here and there. The work's been a bit more rewarding. The freelance career's been going up a little bit. I noticed that as I was less stressed about work, I started kind of enjoying watching the clips a little bit more. And then, Araxor came out, and I was going, oh, like, this looks cool. This is something, it's not the same TOA Shadow clip number 9,000 that I'm looking at every single day. I was like, holy, this is really cool. And so I just, been dabbling back in RuneScape a little bit. It's been fun. I've just been doing some Slayer on my main, just trying to get the level for Araxor.
Hell yeah. I think Jagex knocked it out of the park with Araxor. We talked about it a little bit last week, but I did some more since then. Discovered how to actually kill the boss efficiently, and some of the strats are super cool.
I actually just edited a guide for a YouTuber about a week ago for Araxor, so I had to, I was forced to learn the mechanics. That's the interesting part. I don't play, I don't do any of this content, but I could tell you exactly how to kill the spider real good, even though I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, it definitely reminds me of Cook Me Plox is kind of the same way. He doesn't play the game a lot, but it's like you could ask him anything about any piece of content, and he could probably name out like a bunch of weird facts that a bunch of people don't know. But he doesn't play at all anymore.
Yeah, with his game knowledge, yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, seeing how some people who don't play anymore, they can still keep up, and they'll know everything. And this game is so rich. It's so deep, the amount of hours of enjoyment you can get out of RuneScape are basically endless. And it's hard to see another MMO that does something similar to that, I used to play World of Warcraft a lot around like Wrath and stuff. And like, I'd be like, all right, I got some good raid gear. What's next? It's like, I don't really feel like making a new character and getting to endgame again. So I think that's it. And then, you just take a break until the next expansion or whatever comes out. But with RuneScape, it's like, holy, like, you can literally sink as much time into this as you want. Like, as long as you have enthusiasm in RuneScape, there's no end to the content, basically. Except for, like, maybe the ultra high level community who, like, they have Zuck helms, like, they're cracked out the wazoo. Like, maybe for them, they might feel starved for content. But for the average player, like, they're probably not going to see the end of content.
I don't know. I think even for them, if you haven't completed the collection log, I don't think you're done.
Yeah, it sounds like you still got some distance to cover, boys. Time to start getting those pieces of Third Age.
Yeah. If you're listening to this right now, stop what you're doing and do a master clue immediately.
Yeah, Marnie, you still got what is that? 19 more collection log slots to go. Come on, buddy.
Chop. They're only adding more to the game.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember I did a video for someone last year where we broke down exactly how long it would take to complete the collection log. And I was like, oh, shucks. My face when I realized I will die before I complete the collection log.
You will pass it down to your children and your children's children before they green log that bitch. It is.
Absolutely. I can't imagine.
So rough. I don't think I'll ever see Third Age.
I think it was someone on Behemeth like a week ago. It was like Domus or someone, like one of the top cloggers. And like they got like, it was something crazy, like their 5th like duped gilded axe or something.
Oh yeah, I saw that clip.
Yeah, I looked at their clog and I was just like, oh, like it can't be that bad. Like surely they only have like 1 or 2 left to go. And I looked and I was like, wait, dear God, Like, the probability that you complete all Gilded in Third Age, I started running the numbers. I'm like, oh no. Oh no.
And unfortunately, getting an item does not mean you're less likely to get that item in the future, so...
No, we don't have dry protection. Like, they just let you go dry. Which, I mean, I think that's kind of good, for the mystique of the game and the economy. I don't necessarily think that you should have dry protection in the collection log by any means. But, I'm just pointing out, it's rough. And I think it's okay that it's rough, but it doesn't change the harsh reality. Like, completing Third Age, for example, or Gilded. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Yeah, and if they were to add another piece of Third Age or Gilded, or really anything to any of the treasure trails, you'd basically have to redo it all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of
just imagine how many dupes, Yeah, how many more Third Age, pickaxes are you going to get before you get that new Third Age they added? Oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be wealthy, but good God.
It makes me sad because I really like clues, and I want them to add, more rewards. I want another clue expansion, but I don't think we'll ever get one because of the collection log.
Speaking of getting stuff in the game, what do you guys think about sailing?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, we talked about this a little bit last week. I'm excited for sailing, but if they could give us something that's not just here's our, 5th in a row blog that's like a technical blog of how we've been working on getting movement to not be so janky, that would be great. We need to get our hands on something. And
listen, brother, Summer Summit is this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll actually see anything interesting for sailing, but...
You never know. Maybe just another Unity preview or something.
Playable Unity preview? Let's go.
I think they had to announce when a beta is available for players to test things, even if it's, kind of jank.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the player base, they'll feel a lot more comfortable with the idea and concept if they can at least get their hands on something tangible, For so many people, this is just a long, distant myth, sailing will never come, or people are saying, just scrap it, you know what I mean? There's been a lot of discourse
2017,
online.
Baby.
Oh, yeah. You're right. I forgot about that. Oh, my goodness. Oh, how the time flies.
Yeah, no, they have to be careful with putting out a demo, though, because as we were saying on the last time we were talking about sailing, it's like people will look at these tech demos and be like, oh, wow, this looks terrible. Sailing's going to suck. This is bad. Get it out of the game. So if they release a demo that's too jank, people are going to be like, wow, this sucks. This shouldn't be in the game. They have to be really careful about what they actually let people see and what they actually let people interact with. Because otherwise they're going to leave a bad impression.
Madalena put it best when she said, she realizes now why they don't show off technical demos at other game studios, because players aren't used to seeing games in such a jank state.
Yeah, it's why leaks can be so detrimental to a company. It's like, oh, you'd think, a game leaking a little bit early would be good, but oftentimes it's not, because it's not representative of what the final product is going to be. And so people will see these things that just look terrible, and they're like, wow, this game is going to suck. I was at PAX this weekend, and I got the chance to play Monster Hunter Wilds. Very excited for that game. But there were some bugs happening because it's an early playtest. And there was a pretty interesting bug that happened. All the monsters basically just turned to PS1 graphics, which looked really silly. Sparry, I don't know. I think I was talking about the old Apex bug.
Yeah.
It looked kind of like that. It was interesting, and it's a lot of people wanted to take photos, but the person that was with Capcom standing in that booth was immediately like, no, you guys can't take photos of this, because they don't want that kind of stuff getting out there, because people are going to be like, oh, Monster Hunter's washed, guys. It's over.
Yeah. And it's a scary thing for a dev, yeah. If one singular tweet goes viral of someone taking a photo on their cell phone or whatever, posting it to Twitter and going wow, the new Monster Hunter game just washed. Look at what these next gen graphics look like. And then it's some, obviously some glitch, something not intended, but it can really kill the masses' hype for whatever you have coming. If a lot of people don't understand, a lot of things are real buggy and real ugly before they're ready for any players to actually get their hands on. And even still, they might need more work or day one patches, etc.
Yeah. I mean, it literally happened with GTA 6 leaks. they leaked a bunch of stuff, and people were saying like, this game looks trash. We're cooked if this is what the game looks like. It's like, it's an early access like dev build. It's not the final product, guys.
Yeah, it is not representative of the final game whatsoever. And it's a scary thing, putting your stuff up there. That being said, I'm still optimistic with sailing. I've kind of always been optimistic. I have a lot of faith in Jagex. I really do.
Yeah, I think they've kind of proven themselves.
Yeah. Like, they've let me down a few times in terms of PvP content stuff, but I've, I'm in a 6 feet under by this point with PvP content. Like, oh, good God. Especially, like what happened recently in the PvP community is like Rot banned, PvP Discord deleted. Like, it's been bad. Oh, DMing also gone.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on DMing? Are you for, against?
Originally, for a long time, I was for it, specifically because I was like, hey man, more clips equals more content. More content equals usually more clip diversity. More clip diversity means more viewer retention. More viewer retention means people subscribe to RuneScape YouTubers and streamers more often, which creates a bigger audience, which therefore gives me more jobs. So I was thinking, hey, more viewers who want to watch DMing means more YouTube work and streaming work for me.
But surely DMing is like the most boring shit in the world.
That's
to watch.
What I thought. I hate editing DMing. For put that on the record. Every time I've ever edited DMing content, behind the scenes, I was scraping my skin off of my face. I do not like it, but I don't know why. It does something interesting in the analytics. I don't really see anything else like it, where you'll have this small subgroup of viewers who they don't watch Iron Man content, they don't watch main content, they don't really even watch a lot of PKing content. They will just swarm around for big gambling videos. It happened back with, the good old Sand Casino before that got nuked.
Yeah.
And stuff like with, I remember Odablock a long time ago was, gambling his way out of insane debt. And that had a lot of people who were just there to see him get further in debt, almost like hate watchers. And they come around a lot whenever people gamble a lot of money, because it's like the two extremes of human emotion. Someone wins like 50 bill or something, and they're like screaming, going crazy, and their reaction's so sensational. And it brings a lot of viewers in. But at the same time, half those people, they want to see you lose, because it's not their money they're losing. They want to see you weep when you get cleaned, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that now my perspective has shifted, and I'm kind of glad that DMing is gone. I don't ever think, unless you put trade restrictions in old school, which may I add will probably kill the game. I don't think unless you do that, you're ever going to formally get rid of gambling. I think it will always have a place in RuneScape. It's kind of synonymous with RuneScape by this point. There's been gambling in RuneScape as long as I can remember, and every single time Jagex, even like we're talking pre-EOC, every time Jagex says like, oh nah, like let's be gone with gambling. Let's no more flower gambling or whatever. Yes, say nay to gambling, exactly. Every time they try to remove it, it's like a Hydra. You cut one head off, 5 more come back or something. I remember they banned DMing. People found a way around.
Yeah. People always just find like a new way of gambling. Like I was watching, oh God, who was it? It was some high level PVMer. They were doing Araxor, and they were resetting over and over and over again for Ruby Bolt procs. And he just offhandedly mentioned like the order of the spiders that when you enter could be used for gambling. So like,
my God, you're right. You're right. How many people are gonna bet 5 bill that the orange spider will come out first?
Yeah, it's like there's no way. Like, are you gonna change the mechanics of the boss if people start gambling with that? Surely not. So
no. Yeah, it's hard to do, because at what point do you ruin the game experience for all of the non-gambling part? People who don't participate. At what point does their game experience suffer due to the detriment of those who do gamble in real world trade, right?
Yeah. Did you play back when the trade restrictions first got added back in like 08, or was it 07?
No. That was a little bit before my time. Okay. I think I played casually in I think 2005 for a little bit, when I was literally just like a little minion or whatever. It was a long time ago. That was my first exposure to it at my buddy's. I went over his little sleepover, go over to his place, saw his older brother's computer. He went in his browser, showed me this game called RuneScape, and then I forgot about it. And then in high school, in junior year of high school, my friends were like, oh dude, they remade the old RuneScape. And I was like, oh no way. oh my god, and then I popped off, and then that's when, my interest in the game started. Yeah.
So you're a little bit younger than me. Then.
Yeah, I'm 24 right now. I'm 24. I was born in 2000.
2000. I see. I'm born in
not the youngest. Let's go.
97.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
pretty close.
I played in like 2006, 2007, 2008 kind of. And summoning is what made me quit, but I also remember when like the trade restrictions came in, and that was just, it was not a good time to be playing RuneScape. It was just like all of a sudden, I didn't read the news posts or anything, so like I had no idea what was going on. All of a sudden, I just couldn't trade my brother anymore. Couldn't give each other gear.
For so many people, that's why you quit. That's exactly why so many people would quit. It's like the average player, I would say they don't deathmatch, bills. They don't. They wouldn't whip stake bills. They probably don't even have the stats to whip stake back when that was a thing. Yeah. And so, can you imagine their shock when they log in? They want to do. Oh, let's me and my older brother. We're gonna go to Corp. Maybe we get 1 kill an hour. Like they're just hanging out, and then all of a sudden they get slapped with something like that. Like that's the quickest way you can make someone unsub. Yeah. And so I'm really glad they haven't. Jagex specifically haven't voiced. Let's do anything drastic. Mm-hmm. But I wonder. Is it inevitable? Because they removed the Sand Casino, aka the Duel Arena, and they replaced it with something else. They banned DMing, and now they have an automated detection system that I can't comment on how people get around, but people are getting around. So I wonder, what's next? At what point, do they get closer and closer to blurring the line of punishing all of the players with an overly authoritarian rule in the game just to stop people from gambling,
I think what's going to happen is Jagex is just going to make it eventually so annoying to gamble that there's like still going to be people that do it. But I think it's going to be so obnoxious to get into. People are going to just try to find like other games that they can gamble in instead. You know?
I saw a lot of the DMing streamers, and I won't say their names or anything, but a lot of them after the DMing ban, they didn't really feel comfortable initially after the game update went live, streaming the ways that they got around it, and those who did probably are too reckless to really care about it at all or care about their account. But I saw a lot of them just immediately go to online crypto gambling, and they just streamed that. And it's so interesting seeing how many RuneScape, what I thought, air quotes, RuneScape viewers just stuck around for crypto gambling with zero, MMO content whatsoever.
No.
I'm like, wow, you guys were really here just for gambling money, huh?
I don't think there's very much overlap with those players. Like, maybe they are like, they're there for the RuneScape gambling because there's like some nostalgia probably for them.
Yeah.
But I think really they just care about the gambling.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. And it sucks because there is that community that's making it harder for other players. Like I saw some story on Twitter. It could have been bait. I don't know if it was true, but someone was claiming that him and his buddy were doing some 1v1s. They're just like doing PvP. I don't know whether or not it was legitimate or not, but one of the guys said that he got a real world trade ban. Basically, he got knocked off for DMing, but it was a false flag due to the automated system that they had. He basically got blown out in a 1v1 for a lot of money, and the game was like, oh, you took this amount of damage in this time with this gear, your opponent was wearing this gear, and you didn't eat or anything in that time frame. So that looks like you're DMing to me. So, he got punished for it. It's concerning, because imagine if they had even more intrusive systems to what they thought was detecting real-world trade or gambling.
Yeah.
But it could have been an innocent player. I don't know. Just food for thought. If you're listening to this, first of all, thank you, and second of all, don't gamble. It's bad.
Yeah, gambling is so addictive. It's just, it's rough.
When I was in high school, I used to gamble CS:GO knives.
Oh, I did TF2 crates.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
TF2 crates. Let's go.
Christmas and my birthday would roll around. I was born in November, so I'd get back-to-back money, and I'm like, I'm in high school. I don't got bills. Time to spend. I'd spend like $200 on TF2 crates.
So I swear I did the same thing at one point, too. Unboxing Unusual. Thought I was, I'm him. Told all my friends at grade school.
Yeah.
And then I got scammed and learned my lesson.
Thankfully, I never got scammed once, I actually had a brain, but I remember getting scammed in elementary school when I was playing RuneScape.
Yeah. I think that RuneScape really teaches people core life lessons early.
Yeah. So my younger brother, he's 18 now, but 4 or 5 years ago, he comes to me and he says, Sparry, I need $100 from you. I'm like, what the fuck do you need $100 from me for? Yeah. He goes, this guy sent me a message and he's gonna give me $1,000, but I first need to send 100 to him. And I sat him down and I had to explain to him how the scam worked, and he did not believe me. And I was like, okay, go to your room, sit and think about it for a minute, and then you'll realize that there's no shot in the world that this random person wants to send you $1,000 if you just give him 100 first. And he came back to me like an hour later and he apologized. He's like, yeah, he was trying to scam me. And I was like, yeah. But like, he didn't grow up with like RuneScape or anything to teach him these lessons. So, you know, I'm kind of glad he learned in a way that he didn't get scammed out of money, but like,
my guy never got his armor trimmed. Sad.
Yeah.
Oh no.
You know, my grandmother, I learned from my mom recently, apparently she got IRS scammed. You know, someone trying to be the IRS took a couple $1,000s from her. It's just like it's very depressing. Like I wish there was like maybe in schools they should have like a scam class where you learn all these scams and you know, critical thinking of like, hey, you should probably not send money to random people via like PayPal.
Honestly, I learned that from just hopping on an MMO. You know, like that's just, it teaches a lot of life lessons. It's scary when you see how gullible some people are, you know? Not to act all hoity-toity like I'm immune to scams or anything, which, you know, I'm not. But it is crazy. Like I had a coworker back when I worked at that warehouse, and he was like, oh, my buddy just got scammed out of like 5K, and he was describing how it happened, and he was acting like it was the most intricate, complex, convoluted 18-step scam. Like there's no way. And I'm like, this sounds exactly like how you get lured on a PvP world. Like, like there's no way a 44-year-old man fell for this. Like you have to be kidding me. And I realized, man, I'm thankful. RuneScape teaches you life lessons, bro.
Yeah.
It really does.
This has actually been happening at my work lately. Someone's been spoofing my boss's phone number and calling random employees. I don't know how they're getting these employees' names. It must be someone on the inside doing it or something.
Yeah, that seems likely.
But they spoof my boss's number and they call and say that they're so I work in a restaurant, so they call and say that they're part of Cisco, our like food delivery, and say, hey, your boss's credit card bounced. We need you to send your credit card information to us to like pay for the shipment.
Yeah.
And your boss said that they would like reimburse you. And
that's devious.
Yeah, one of my coworkers almost fell for it, but she was on the phone with them, and the kitchen manager was like, hang up the phone, this is a scam. But one of the front of house people, they got by it recently, and they sent like $2,000, or they got like $2,000 taken from their account. It was just like, oh my god. Yeah,
that's rough. They clearly didn't play enough RuneScape. That's all I'm
clearly.
saying.
Yeah, he's a few years younger. I think he's like 19 or 20 or something. Yeah. So like too young to have played RuneScape, unfortunately.
Yeah, work scam is crazy to me though. It's like,
it's crazy.
If anybody calls me up and is like that, I'm like, yeah, nah, my boss can go fuck himself. He can handle that shit himself. That's not my responsibility.
Yeah, no shot I would use my own personal money to like
that is not happening, brother.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I'm too much of an asshole to want to help my boss in that way.
I'm definitely too much of an asshole just because it's like this is my work. This is not my responsibility. I do not care. It's like, you know, it's the corporation attitude of like, I'm not helping the corporation. It's not my problem.
I'm really happy that I'm self-employed now, because I don't got to deal with that shit
You don't
anymore,
have to deal with that kind of attitude of like, oh yeah, the corporation above me that doesn't care about me. Cool, great.
Well, so you are self-employed, but you do contract work or freelance work, I guess, for, you know, a lot of YouTubers. And I got the blessing of Behemeth himself to ask this, but Tasty wants to know what's the worst part about editing for him.
What's the worst part for editing for Tasty? Let me think.
Yeah.
Probably that goddamn glare on the screen whenever he shows his bald ass head. But worst part for editing for him. Sometimes, man, we talked about this. I had to sit him down. Yeah. You know, I'm not kidding. You know, he's an influential guy in the RuneScape sphere, but I sat his ass down because he would do the shit and he's gotten better at it recently, admittedly. Thank you, Tasty, if you ever hear this. But he would sit down, he'd record Behemeth or something like that, or be recording a video, and if he was doing a scripted segment or narrating something or anything that was pre-recorded, not live, he would just lose his train of thought, hit his vape, and I swear to God, the waveform in the editing software would go dead for 15 minutes, and he would scroll his phone. And there was a period of time where he was single before he got into a relationship, and he would just swipe Tinder for 15 minutes vaping, and he'd go, "Oh shit, sorry, buddy, I forgot I was recording." And then he would just continue the video like normal. So I did like, dude, lock in, man. Like I'm sitting here, I have my coffee, I sat down, I opened my editing software, I imported the clips. You could at least do me the favor of when you're recording to remember you're recording, man.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but no. Otherwise, he's a great guy. I like all the clients. Usually, if there's someone who I find very hard to work with, I'll do a video for them, and then I just kind of politely say, like, that was awesome, but I don't think I'll be doing another one for you or anything like that, because I had one bad experience in my editing career. I won't say their name or anything, and I don't think I've ever gone on record and said their name. I did contact the owners of the artist Discord and the work Discord for content creators, where they hire editors and they hire people to do 3D work. I let them know, because there is actually a blacklist where if you've been scammed or burned by a content creator or some dodgy business has gone on, you can talk to one of the mods and show, proof or whatever of, whatever's gone on. And they'll investigate both sides, determining whether or not to block someone from the Discord or not. And I basically had a case where I had done several videos I had done without a problem for what I would say, actually, I was undercharging my services. This is back when I was new and I didn't have a lot of self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
I had just started working for Behemeth full-time. Just started. And I started doing an Iron Man series for like a very, very, very small YouTuber, probably like a few hundred subs. And they were been making videos for a while, but they said that they had a new job in real life in a tech company and they didn't want to edit anymore, so they got me to do it. So I was very thankful. This would be great on my resume. I started doing these videos, and all of a sudden, I remember one video, the guy said, all right, like for this one, I don't mind paying you like an extra, let's say it was like 30 or 40% of the number that I had given them. So it was a decent increase, right? And I go, okay, like sure, I'm expecting to work like a reasonable amount longer, probably like 4 hours longer, maybe, let's say, on this video. And so he sends me the footage, and it's just like him kind of rambling about not RuneScape related stuff very incoherently while he was killing like Callisto and like some of the wildy bosses. And it was just uncut for 30 or 40 minutes. And he told me, I kid you not, all right, here's the reference video that I want this to look like. And he gave me a solo mission video. And so I was like, okay, I'll do my best to get as close as I can to that. And so I tried to edit as good as I can. Like when it was just like dull content of him killing, I tried to cut it out, tried to keep it concise. So I give him the video back and he goes like, oh, this is just a rough cut, right? And I'm like, oh no, like I actually spent a lot of time on this trying to get it nice. Like what would you like changed? I don't mind making some revisions for you, like for free. Like you don't like something, I'll cut it, I'll change it. I want you to be happy with it, right? Like I said, I wasn't very confident with myself and I didn't really stand up, And so he basically said, this is garbage. And he started acting like really hostile out of nowhere, saying like, I'm not giving you any money until you give me something that I actually asked you for. And I was like, okay, that's a red flag, because this hasn't happened to me before. And he was no complaints about anything I've done. He loves everything. He said it was very impressive. And out of nowhere, he goes, this isn't a solo mission video, but he gave me a few clips of him killing Callisto. That's it, right?
Yeah, so he's not solo mission. You can't make a solo mission video.
You're not solo mission, buddy.
Yeah.
And so I basically said, I respectfully, like, I understand that this isn't what you like, but if you want me to continue working on this, I'm gonna need you to pay me what you had promised to pay me for the video when I said I'd give it to you, just like every other time. And after that happens, I really don't mind redoing most of the video, because you're clearly not satisfied with it. And he basically told me to screw myself, and that he wasn't gonna pay me a dime, because what I given him was such low quality that he could never post it, even though this was probably the best video he had on his channel. By a long shot. And that's not saying a lot, because it was kind of just like an Iron Man killing wildy bosses, right?
Yeah.
And when that happened, that really put a bad taste in my mouth, and I got pretty worried about reaching out to other content creators and working. but I'm very, very happy to say that guy was just an outlier. The RuneScape community really is beautiful. Like it sounds kind of cheesy, but like a lot of people are really down to earth and really nice. If you don't go deep into like the PKing clans or the DMing CCs and stuff, the average RuneScape player, they're sick. They're homies. We have a really cozy community, and everyone else that I've worked with has just been awesome. You know, you just get bad folks every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, everyone we've interacted with, either on the podcast or just like in game, you know, I joined the clan that the XP Waste podcast is, you know, formed around the Team No Life, and all those people, you know, they're homies. You know, good friends now. I've been in the clan for a few years now, and they're awesome. But also all the content creators we've talked to on the podcast here, they're like, you know, all, like you said, down to earth, great people. Honestly, I don't know if we've had a bad interaction with anyone that we've talked to.
Yeah, no, like it's actually really miraculous. Like I see a lot of other genres and of like games and stuff like that, and like, man, it's scary. I wouldn't want to edit for some of these people. I used to do some League of Legends editing. Oh my god, no, never again, never again. No. Oh my god. Well, the amount of time I would have to, I made a preset just for it, actually, where it was an adjustment layer in Premiere that was automatically resized to match the where the streamer's game chat would appear. And I had like a blur effect already like preset set up for those coordinates on the screen because people would type slurs that often. And I was like, I'm not going to do this work anymore, man. Like, this is not it.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what it is about, like, League of Legends and Call of Duty just brings out the worst in some people. Like, it is insane.
It's just competitive games in general. You see it in the Wilderness a lot as well. Just just absolutely horrendous shit. Like,
yeah.
I think competitive games aren't necessarily bad like that in nature, but it just brings out a lot of unhealthy and toxic characteristics in people. Yeah, like, you know, the majority of RuneScape, you don't really see anything like that, but it's exactly like you said. Like in the Wildy and stuff like that, that's when things get a little dicey. It's just whenever anyone has anything on the line where they can, you know, show their power over someone, even though it's not tangible, some people get a big rush out of it. So things get crazy, you know, things get crazy. When I was pretty new to RuneScape, I really only played for PvP. I had a pure, and I would just rush at the GE, and oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh, I imagine people hate that.
Yeah, I was like, there's a page on the wiki. It says it's allowed. Like, go to the RuneScape wiki and look up rushing. It's not that. It's allowed in the game rules. I was coping hard as hell, right? Like, I don't really do that anymore. I was coping, but like, people were feral. I had multiple people set up rag bots that would just, when I logged into the PvP world, they would log in and rag me the exact game tick that I stepped into the PvP area.
Yeah.
They'd start hitting me with the crystal bow and rag gear. I was like, oh, dude, this is so toxic. Like, no way you're running a bot for me. No way.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is with, like, the Wilderness and, like, PvP worlds, you know, there's basically no rules. It's whatever it takes to get the kill. Like, unless you've agreed ahead of time. But, like, I don't know. I play Sea of Thieves, right? It's, if you're not familiar, it's PvP / PvE, like, pirate game.
Yeah, no, I played it. I played it before.
Okay, yeah. So, like, a lot of times people get so upset with you when you like take stuff from them, and it's like, yeah, it's the game, man.
It's a pirate game.
Yeah, it's a pirate game.
It's literally a pirate game.
But like, you know, and anything it takes to get the booty. Like,
yeah,
you know, I've befriended people and we've sailed and got a bunch of loot, and then at the end I keg their ship and they sink, and it's like, you know, it is what it is.
Well, that brings up an interesting, like, subculture discussion in terms of online gaming in general, where, for example, I find there's a social etiquette, almost, to a lot of encounters in games that is not in the game rules.
Yeah.
It's not bannable, and it's not enforced by anyone other than just, like, the hive mind, or the average player who engages in it. Like, for example, on PvP worlds, right? I learned this very early, and it was a really, you know, hard-taught lesson for me, because I started playing RuneScape with my brother and some of my friends, and I was like, oh, I want to go to the PvP world for the first time on my main. Obviously, I got cleaned. I had, like, base 50s. Like, there's no way, right?
Yeah.
But I went out for my first time, and I started fighting someone. And so I'm thinking, all right, like, all the stakes are here. All my gear's on the line. Like, it's a 1v1 to the death. I'll do anything I can to win. So I turn on Protect from Melee. Right? You know, because I'm clueless. You know, me, clueless, not knowing anything. all of a sudden 6 or 7 people just follow me at the GE by the bank, and they start calling me slurs. They stop calling me, and they call me a noob, saying I don't know what I'm doing. And like, no one explains to you that the social etiquette for most melee fights is you can't smite, right? And that's the whole idea. Like, there's an expected knowledge of the game that I feel like makes it harder for new players to get in, because it's not advertised to you, and it's not, forced on players. Like with Bounty Hunter, I feel like they've kind of improved that a little bit. Like, you can't use protection prayers in Bounty Hunter, for example. But like stuff like that, and it's even represented in other games, and like Sea of Thieves, like you mentioned, like some things being taboo to do but aren't actually bannable. Someone's going to have their feelings hurt. Either noobs are going to quit because they get harassed because they don't know what they're doing is wrong, or some people are going to stomp, vice versa, right? And it's an interesting point of discussion in RuneScape that I don't think has been explored enough by content creators. Specifically, I feel like I was actually considering making a video about the social taboos in RuneScape and how to avoid them for new players. Like, for example, I was going to point out that, okay, just because you see someone is at sand crabs doesn't mean you should kill their sand crabs. You know what I mean? Like, if you're literally, I'm talking like brand new, right? And just list all the social taboos in RuneScape so that you can get better. But while I was writing part of the script for that, before I came up with the video idea, which still not out, still in production, I was thinking, like, is this even worth, making a video on? Because people will find out quick and they'll self-correct. But I wonder how many players thought what they were doing was wrong, thought, okay, how many other things in the game could I do that are similarly wrong? And is it even worth me sticking around in the game if the whole game is full of high-level community assholes who expect me to know this, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's like some things that are social taboos too that, like, I feel like players have at least gotten a little bit into the game still don't really fully understand. I was watching Jeoparite stream the other day, and some guy runs up to him while he's like juggling items on the ground and picks up stuff from his pile. It's like,
oh my god!
At Demonic Gorillas, that is like the most common shit ever. You get to Demonic Gorillas with a full inventory of stuff. Your first 3 Demonic Gorillas give you supply drops, and it's like, okay, cool. Now I have to juggle all this shit and make sure that the timer never turns yellow, because as soon as it turns yellow, some jackass main is going to pull up and just steal all my new supplies that I have.
Exactly. And, it makes me wonder, like, is this Jagex's fault for putting the player in these situations? Or is it just, like, something that the players are going to have to cope with? Just part of the game?
I put a screenshot of it in broadcasting chat, but... He asked, did you just take something from my pile? And the guy is named CEO of Grind and says, yeah, I dropped it for you.
Dude, he's on his grind set. He really needed that angler, man. He needed it. Oh my god.
It's so good. It was like 200 flax or something. Like, not even like anything that mattered, but it's just like really funny. Speaking of taboos, do you think it's cool for people that are splashing if someone comes up to them and uses their cat to kill their rat?
It's hilarious.
What's your opinions on that?
I fucking love it, man.
Hell
I
yeah.
love that shit. I mean, like, as far as I'm concerned, something becomes uncool when it's like you can get banned for it, Like,
okay, yeah.
actually harassing someone, breaking chat TOS. Like, okay, like, I don't think that's cool. But clever ways in game to manipulate stuff until Jagex, puts the book down on you and says, okay, this is formally not allowed. You will be banned if you do this.
Yeah, like ragging.
I think it's like ragging. Exactly. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And also the using your cat to kill the rat thing, that's just a skill issue. You can go and splash on something that isn't a rat.
Yeah.
It's the same thing if you're splashing on the ducks in like Falador Park that's in multi-combat and someone kills the duck. Like, I don't know, maybe splash somewhere that isn't multi-combat.
My main thing is just don't splash anywhere that's like a high traffic, teleport area. Like, it's Ferox Enclave. Like, why are you splashing here? I'm gonna go get my cat real quick because it's a teleport, and I'm gonna kill your rat.
Just the way it goes.
Oh, well, I just realized I scrolled up in the broadcasting chat. You found the render I made that got me into working for Behemeth. That's insane. I haven't seen that in a while. Yeah. That's what I made before I started doing RuneScape editing. Ancient
it has
render.
That like really early like Blender style that like I saw a lot back when this would have been posted. 2021? Is that what the
probably 2021? Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of like admittedly shitty Blender art that came out around that time because that's around when the RuneLite plugin for exporting 3D models to Blender kind of started popping off. and people like the Scald were famous for being pioneers and supporting the editing community with tools and stuff for creating their own artwork and videos with Blender, basically project files. And I remember I picked up on that. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And it was literally just for fun. Like, I was pretty bad at Blender. You know, I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. And I just made like a little shit post of me and my buddy. You know, I was whatever. Like, it took me like, I don't know, 40 minutes or something, 50 minutes, just having fun. And wow, you know, I'm just happy that I put it out there. And, you know, for anyone who wants to try their hand at maybe making a render or editing a video, I think, you know, try it, because what do you have to lose? You know, you'd be surprised where stuff like that can lead you in life. Just trying things that you're anxious about.
Yeah, I remember back when that plugin came out, I had used it to turn my RuneScape model into like a VR chat model. It was so much more work than it needed to be, because I had no idea what I was doing. It was a lot of fun, though. I learned a lot about like 3D modeling.
I'm assuming you'd have to like rig it up and stuff.
Yeah, the rigging was horrendous to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gaps in the RuneScape model that you don't really notice because, you know, you're not zoomed in paying attention, but like the gap in your nose and your hands aren't actually attached to your arms, and it's just like, oh my god,
it's not anatomically correct.
Yeah, it was cool though. I used it in like VR chat for a bit, but
the Scald actually ended up sending me this funny thing he made. He was making a thumbnail, and he was like, wait a minute, I'm just noticing now that like the RuneScape characters, like all of their anatomy is messed up the closer you get. So he made a like realistic, like actually anatomically correct RuneScape character with like open eyes, proper nose and lips and everything, and it was horrifying.
That sounds cursed.
It was so cursed, man. I was like, oh god. People say, oh, I want better graphics. No, you don't. You do not. You do not want better graphics. Yeah.
I put in the broadcasting chat a little clip of my RuneScape character.
Oh, yo. Let's go. You actually got the rig looking really good. It doesn't even like stretch or deform badly or anything. I wonder how much work that took.
It took me, I want to say, a solid month of working on this thing to get it to like look right. There's a reason I don't show my feet, by the way, like lower than my knees, because the character would walk on their tippy toes randomly. Never could figure out how to get that to work right. There was like some weird stuff with like the bones in the feet on the rig that would cause it, and apparently like I just don't know. I didn't know how to fix it, so.
Oh, that's understandable. Rigging's hell. Yeah, that's probably one of the least favorite things I ever did when I was studying CGI. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah, it was cool though. I used it to stream for a little bit. Not a great way to stream with a VR headset strapped to your head.
Oh god.
I was like, maybe this is a good enough gimmick that, people will check it out, and I was like, yeah, not really. I just realized streaming wasn't super for me.
Oh, no, I think it's good that you tried it though, like I was mentioning earlier. I'd sent some streams actually a couple of months ago. Started streaming really regularly, picked up some viewers, and I was like, oh damn, I actually have to like sometimes I'd edit client work on stream because a lot of people wanted to see what it looked like behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. And I had like a little audience and some subscribers. It was really nice of them for coming by anyway, but man, it's a lot of stuff on my social battery to have to entertain like a crowd of people and try to edit at the same time. I decided, it wasn't really for me. I think I'm still pursuing content creation for myself, and I really enjoy it. Ultimately, it's my end goal is to make my own content and edit my own content and take, 3 to 4 times as long as I would for a client video, but I wouldn't have to, pay anyone because it'd be me, and I could make it as nice as I wanted. But I think my future lies in edited videos, because it's hard to translate all of my skill in editing into a live stream. Like you can do stuff in OBS with like live transitions and stuff like that, which is really cool, but I want to be able to make a video on something that I care about and edit it nicely. So I ultimately think that that's probably my future.
Yeah, I've seen some like people that have done some like absolutely crazy stuff in OBS on streams. There's like this guy that would wear like this gadget on his arm, and like he would use it to control like a bunch of different cameras and like different effects and stuff. I don't know if he ever really blew up, but I saw some clips of him. But
yeah, no, naturally working on Behemeth, I see all sorts of streamers, big streamers and small streamers alike, and some of them have like really cool OBS setups,
Yeah,
I really like that. I always find it refreshing to see someone with a non-conventional stream setup. instead of, there's nothing wrong with the default kind of vanilla webcam, masked over mini map, got your HP and stuff poking out, and then that's just how you play. Like, that's fine. But sometimes I'll see some just crazy shit. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like, you're green screened into your spec orb. Like, all right, we're cooking. Like, I don't know.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, like just go crazy, dude. Just literally just go crazy. There's no rules. It's the Wild West.
You said in our DMs that you had some like crazy stories of like what you've seen doing Behe. Do you have anything like?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of no one really knows this. And for the first talking point, I shouldn't say too much, but we've had content creators who we don't have on Behemeth anymore, and a lot of people in the comments every now and then, like probably once a month, I'll just like look at the comments and someone will go, "You haven't had this person on in a while." Like, well, where are they? But the truth is, we put a clip in of them because it was really popular, and everyone we put on Behemeth, we explicitly ask them for their permission first, like in DMs, like, "Hey, is it okay if we can put a clip of you on the channel?" And we always link their socials, right?
I remember actually a number of years ago, this must have been like 2021 or something. I got a DM from Behe, or no, it was like 2020 probably, asking if a clip of me destroying some people's ears getting KQ pet could be on. I think the video that was on is deleted now, because I remember he cleared all of his videos at some point because of some DMCA issue. But destroyed some ears, and I got the DM from Behe, and I was in a Twitch streamers community at the time, and I was like, "Hey, do you know who this guy is? He's reaching out to me." And he's like, "Oh yeah, he does a clip channel."
Yeah, well, going on what you said, like he had reached out to you, we reach out to many other people, right, for permission, and a lot of people, when we have permission for them, it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. So, in exchange for us getting to use your clips as content every now and then, whenever funny stuff happens, you also get a bunch of viewers who will go to your stream or your YouTube and just like check it out, right? So it's kind of mutually beneficial for most times. But we had someone, not going to name names, but we had permission, and we've been using them for like several months with no issue. But they had one clip where I think it was either a crude joke that they made or a DMing clip. I don't know which one they got mad about. There was one where they lost the DM, and another one where they made like a kind of a weirdo joke. And a lot of people in the comments didn't like them, to say the least. They were saying like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Like, get him off the channel. Like, we don't want his clips anymore. This guy's a loser," or whatever. And apparently, I had nothing to do with this, but they had gone into his stream from Behemeth, and Behemeth viewers were flooding his stream, being toxic to him. And so we got woke up in the morning, a bunch of angry messages. Delete it immediately. You're not to use my clips anymore. We've had cases like that happen, not often at all. Almost everyone we work with is like super cool, and they have a lot of cool Behemeth viewers come to their chat, and I'm happy about it because it's a win-win. But there have been a few streamers, probably I could say 3 or 4 in my entire time working for Behemeth, who go, "No, you're not doing this anymore. No more of my stuff." But recently, I think a couple of weeks ago, we got a copyright strike, or no, I think a DMCA strike. I can't remember what it was. Someone had claimed our video for using the clip without permission, despite us having written permission that we could use it. So when we investigated the situation, it turns out that they weren't comfortable with us using all of their clips, only select ones that they specifically sent over. So we're like, "Okay, no problem, we'll remove it." But we go, "Well, it says that here that you submitted it, Like,
oh my God.
Like, what's going on?" And turns out one of their viewers made a fake Discord with their name and submitted the clip.
Oh, that's
posing as them.
Weird.
So I was downloading the clips, and I go, "Oh, this person wants their clip in. I'll toss it in." Turns out we didn't have permission. It was a fake streamer. So
that's
was
like
weird.
a weird level of like parasocial that like I don't really understand.
Yeah, it was a female streamer. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. But yeah. There's a lot of weirdos.
Yeah.
What else have I seen? Oh, I've just seen like crazy shit. I'm really privileged to have seen like some of the rarest drops in RuneScape history. I've seen editing on Behemeth, where sometimes I wouldn't be paying attention, or I don't watch enough YouTube to be caught up with what everyone's doing on their accounts. But just by always being tapped into the streaming community every single day, I get to see whenever cool things happen. So it's been cool. I've seen the rise and fall of countless group hardcores,
Yeah.
I've seen all sorts of hardcore Iron Man from like the first time they start and they get like, I don't know, they get their Barrows gloves and they'll go, "Oh, hopefully we'll see more from them on the channel." And then like fast forward a year later, and I'm like chain smoking at my desk because I just watched them die to like 4Cath or something, you know. But it's been cool. I feel like I'm more part of the community than a lot of people would imagine, because I'm kind of faceless, right? I'm behind the scenes, but you know, every day I'm there with all these streamers' clips, and you know, I'm just kind of watching, and it's just been really cool. But those are kind of the main notables.
You get like a direct IV injection of like all the RuneScape news that you kind of forced to watch.
Whether I like it or not, I'm in. Yeah. No, so it's been cool.
It's kind of like us doing this podcast. I didn't really like read the news blogs super carefully, but now like whenever a news blog comes out, I have to like, well, I don't have to, but I enjoy going over it with like a fine-tooth comb, reading everything, because it's like, okay, cool, this is like content for the podcast to like talk about whatever is going on in the game.
Yeah, no, 100%. Okay, so to recap, do you have any final questions? Because I was looking at the time in about an hour, so I'm gonna have to go get back to work because I haven't finished Behemeth yet.
I don't have anything off the top of my head, other than just like, you know, when can we expect to see some videos out of you? Because I know you had mentioned in the past wanting to do that, and you mentioned on here planning to do that.
Towards the end of this month, I'll be moving into my my new place, and once I have everything set up, I'm gonna have probably 3 or even 4 times the amount of space to record. I'll even have like a dedicated studio room for working and editing. Because right now, I've literally just been, man, I'm like trapping out of a basement apartment. My computer and my bed are less than a meter apart.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting it out the mud.
I'm right there with you.
It's not a super great
no
thing for the mental.
Yeah, like it's charming and it's kind of wholesome, because a lot of people can resonate with like seeing, you know, oh, that guy on camera, he's just like me for real, you know? Mm-hmm. But over almost 2 years, it's my full-time job. Like, I can do a little bit better, so I just want some more space and more freedom. I'm going to be setting up a little green screen studio area, and a camera tripod setup that I recently invested into. So probably, I would say October. Probably October, you can expect the content to start rolling in, because I do intend on going pretty hard into the YouTube side of things, where I intend on covering kind of MMOs and RuneScape in general.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for asking, though. Yeah, but yeah, no, it's been great getting onto the podcast. I really appreciate it. I know I kind of just like cold message you guys out of nowhere, like, hey, can I come on the podcast, basically? But
oh, that's totally fine. Like, you know, I've done the reverse, you know, cold messaging people, and usually I don't get a reply, which is fine. But like, if people want to like be on the podcast, and you know, they have a specific like reason for wanting to be on, other than just like, I like the podcast, you know, feel free to message in, and if it's if there's a good enough reason, you know, it could be cool.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just pretty appreciative of you guys for taking the time out of your day to have me on. It's cool. I've been really trying to get around into all of the facets in the RuneScape content creator sphere, and the Guthix Rest podcast is certainly nothing to scoff at. Like, it's actually a lot more impactful than I had realized. I've been countless times, I've just been chilling out like a shooting star. People are talking in chat about this podcast and stuff, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah. No, I'm serious.
Wait, no way.
I heard the Guthix Rest podcast and the Sebe cast twice, probably.
Sebe cast, I can understand. That one's pretty popular, but
well, I won't lie.
I still feel like we're kind of nobodies.
Yeah. Nah, I'm not gonna glaze you guys too hard, because this podcast did admittedly only get mentioned as like a retaliation to someone talking about the Sebe cast. Speaking of RuneScape podcasts, that's like
I believe you more now. That sounds reasonable.
Yeah. No, but basically people start talking about Sebe cast or Based or something, and then they go, oh, what are other RuneScape podcasts? And I hear XP Waste and I hear Guthix Rest.
That's I've sick, just been, honestly.
Yeah, I've just been trying to get around, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, like, you know, it's important to, if you're trying to get into the content creation sphere, to get, like, your name out there. It's, like, a mutually beneficial thing. Like, some people might see it as kind of clout farming, but, like, you know, when I reach out to a content creator, you know, it is because I think they're a cool content creator, but also, like, there is some benefit to having these larger names on the podcast.
Yeah, no, and like by no means do I feel any shame in it or anything like that. I think I've always been very upfront whenever I get on camera and stuff, because I think it's the easiest and the best way to be. because you might be a little bit frank or a little bit too direct for some folks, and that's okay. But I would take that any day over being deceitful or trying to hide my intentions from anyone. So I think it's good. I think symbiotic content creation is perfectly fine. I think it's healthy and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, hell, half the editing I do for people, you know what I mean? It's like, like even Behemeth is just a big example of it. It's like, I edit the clips into a daily compilation so I can get paid and they get exposure. And it's like, it goes back and forth, right? And I think there's nothing wrong with branching out to doing collaborations with other YouTubers, collaborating and going on podcasts. It's all one big soup. And I think I like seeing other people win, because if, for example, the more viewers the Guthix Rest podcast has, more people are interested in RuneScape. And I think both of us can agree, or all three of us as a matter can all agree, that more people being invested in RuneScape would be good for everyone, right?
Yeah.
That's a W right there.
We've talked about it in the past, but RuneScape has like a new player problem where it's hard to get new players into the game.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's important that like there is avenues for players to like hear about the game. I don't know if necessarily Guthix Rest is the greatest avenue for that, but
no, but it damn well could be. Hey,
yeah.
Let's get it. You never know, maybe one day there'll be a post-credits Guthix Rest shout out on Behemeth, we can really cook.
Hell yeah.
Anyways,
yeah, I mean,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I hope content creation blows up for you and you're able to do that.
Yeah, I hope you make $1 bajillion, get a bajillion subscribers.
I hope I got 1 gorillion likes on my first video.
All right, guys, let's see if we can get 1 billion likes.
Literally, yeah. No, I'm just hoping it all goes well, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity. And hey, if it doesn't go well, it'll just be like the shitty RuneScape Blender render I made. I was just trying something, man. Just trying.
It's always worth trying something new.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, yeah, we'll have all your links down in the description. And thanks for joining us this week.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, bye.
Bye.